When I first arrived in this neighborhood, I expected calm streets and privacy, not an all out war with a homeowners association that thought they ran the place. From the moment I rolled up in my black coupe, the so called vice chair decided she despised me. Her name was Marlene Cadell. She slapped me with penalties, threatened me outright, and told me to my face I didn't belong here. It spiraled quickly. First, it was warnings, then property damage, and eventually, they even sent people dressed up as fake community patrol to take my car. What they didn't know was that I'm a deputy U.S. Marshal, and I don't respond well to threats. Before we dive deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. I had just moved into Hawthorne Pines, a neighborhood that looked like a photograph of suburban perfection. Impeccably trimmed lawns, matching mailboxes, kids riding their bikes down spotless sidewalks. It all seemed ideal. But perfection can be a mask, and I learned that lesson the hard way. The first person I met was Marlene Cadell, the HOA's vice chair. She introduced herself with a grin so plastic it should have come with a warning label. "We have guidelines here," she said, scanning me like I was already a problem. From that moment, she despised me. Why? Because she couldn't control me. The penalties started almost instantly. The first citation claimed my coupe was improperly parked. It was in my own driveway. The second was for excessive lawn height. I had mowed it 2 days earlier. Then came another for leaving the trash bins out too long, even though I'd brought them in within an hour of pickup. I tried talking sense into them at the next HOA meeting. Marlene sat at the head of the table, her board lined up like soldiers on either side. I dropped the stack of citations in front of her. "Marlene, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but I've followed every single rule." "These notices are fake," I said. She smirked and tapped her pen. "Rules are rules. If you can't handle them, maybe this community isn't right for you." There it was, the threat disguised as neighborly advice. I kept my composure, but inside, I knew this wasn't going to stop. A week later, the harassment escalated. One morning, I stepped outside on my way to work and froze. My tires were slashed, all of them, a jagged cut through each sidewall and a note tucked under my windshield wiper. "Next time we take it." My blood went cold. This wasn't about trash cans or lawns anymore. This was intimidation, deliberate, criminal, and personal. I took photos, called the county sheriff's office, and filed a report. But I knew the HOA had connections in low places, and Marlene would play innocent. Still, that note told me everything I needed to know. Marlene and her little regime weren't going to back off until they broke me or drove me out. What Marlene didn't realize was that I'd been trained to handle people like her. I don't startle easily, and I don't back down, but even I couldn't have guessed how far she'd push this. I wasn't going to let the tire job slide. I cataloged everything. Macro shots of the slashes, a clear photo of the note beneath the wiper, timestamps from the porch camera. I filed an incident with Deputy Alvarez and handed over the evidence. He treated it seriously, but warned me, if whoever's doing this is escalating, they know what they're doing. Keep your systems on. I obeyed. At the next HOA session, I set the police report and the images on the conference table. Marlene sat like she owned the place, that same artificial grin frozen on her face. "Someone cut your tires? That's dreadful," she said, voice syrupy. "But you're making trouble by pointing fingers, or you're making trouble for yourself by staying silent." I fired back. The room fell still. People shuffled, heads dipped. An elderly neighbor gave me a curt, guilty nod. Fear was a dialect everyone in that room spoke fluently. Marlene never had to lie. Ambiguity was her weapon. I tightened the perimeter. Motion lights, extra cameras with overlapping views, encrypted cloud backups. The setup wasn't paranoia. It was a safeguard. If Marlene's clique tried to erase their tracks, the recordings would tell the true story. Then they made their move in plain daylight. At 2:14 p.m., my front cam pinged my phone. Motion detected. I flicked the live feed on and felt that ancient, hard spike of danger. Headlights. A white SUV idling in my drive. 3 men climbed out in fluorescent vests with bold letters stenciled across their backs. Community enforcement. One carried a hefty tow hook in a toolbox. They moved with mechanical efficiency straight to the coupe, treating it like government property. Unclipping the plate, preparing a wheel clamp, positioning the hook as if the flatbed was already on its way. No knock. No explanation. Just practiced motion. I stepped onto the porch slow, hands behind my back, fingertips curled around the grip of a service pistol I keep concealed. Precaution, not provocation. I didn't flash it. I kept my walk deliberate, eyes fixed on the men. They were midway through rigging the towing gear. "Hey," I called, voice even but loud enough to cut through the afternoon hum. Two heads snapped around. The man leading them wore an insolent smirk meant to convey authority. "Official community enforcement. Your vehicle's being removed for violations." "By what authority?" I asked, keeping my tone calm as I continued forward. The echo of my boots on the step gave the moment a new tension. One of the men produced a laminated badge, cheap lamination, a clip-on you could see through in sunlight. Fake, even from a distance. I stopped 3 paces away, then reached behind my jacket. I didn't make a scene. I revealed slowly, the badge clipped inside my coat and the U.S. Marshal star at my hip. The smirks drained away. My free hand adjusted my jacket enough to reveal the pistol's butt tucked at the small of my back, a silent, unmistakable signal. I was armed, trained, and unimpressed. They scoffed at first, arrogance like armor. "You're not a real cop," the man with the tow hook sneered. "This is HOA business." "Try me," I said. My voice stayed low, but the steel in it carried. The leader faltered. The second man clung tighter to the towing rig like a chained hound ready to lunge. The tension hummed in the air like a wire stretched too far, seconds from snapping. Behind them, my driveway camera kept rolling. Wide frame, crisp resolution, timestamp locked. Every motion, every word, every flimsy laminated badge was preserved. They had an out. They could have walked away, claimed it was a misunderstanding. Instead, they exchanged glances, knuckles twitching on metal. This wasn't about citations anymore. The theft was already underway, and whatever happened next would be caught on record. I gave the order once, steady and clear. "Drop the tools. Leave now." They laughed. That sound was the last thing they would carry out of my driveway. The lead man stepped forward, crowbar flashing in the sunlight like a challenge. I didn't hesitate. Training cuts sharper than rage. He swung wide, aiming to smash into my ribs, a committed strike meant to put me down. I pivoted into it, muscle memory from years of martial drills guiding every move. A redirect, a turn, then a single precise shot. The round struck the fleshy part of his thigh. He went down hard, writhing but breathing. Painful, not fatal. Time bought. The other two surged, emboldened and reckless. Instinct took over. No theatrics, just efficient mechanics. I closed fast, clamped a wrist, and torqued it behind his back until it snapped. The sound was sharp and final. He collapsed with a scream. The third lunged. I dropped a shoulder, drove him backward, and hammered his head into the concrete until the fight drained out of him. Seconds stretched like minutes, but it was over quickly. My cameras had captured everything. The timestamps, the audio, the badges, the vests. Evidence in high definition. Neighbors spilled into the street, phones raised, faces pale. One man bled on my pavement. The others lay groaning. 3 minutes later, Sheriff Alvarez's cruiser pulled in, lights washing the midday glare. Deputies swarmed, secured the suspects, and radioed for medics. I handed over my Marshal credentials without ceremony. By then, an officer already had the footage streaming on a department tablet. Deputies cuffed the three, confiscated crowbars, chains, phony badges, and the counterfeit vests. Medics patched wounds. One man needed surgery for arterial damage but pulled through. Investigators hustled up my driveway, replaying the backup files. Every frame was damning. Within 2 days, the money trail unfolded. Wire transfers, app payments, and text logs tying the hires directly to Marlene Cadell, the HOA vice chair. "Handle the coup. Teach him a lesson," one message read. Her signature matched the invoices for the payouts. The district attorney filed charges fast. Attempted grand theft auto, impersonating an officer, assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy. The 3 muscle men were indicted. Marlene herself was arrested for solicitation and conspiracy. At trial, the video was unrelenting. Neighbors testified under oath about the phony fines, the slashed tires, and Marlene's whispered threats. The jury didn't need long. Marlene was convicted of conspiracy, solicitation, and abuse of HOA authority. She drew 30 months in state prison and was ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution to me, repairs, pain and suffering, legal costs, plus a $50,000 civil penalty to the county for misusing her position. The three hired muscle pleaded guilty to impersonating an officer and attempted grand theft. Each received prison time along with restitution orders. The association itself imploded. Board members resigned, lawsuits multiplied, and the bylaws: you don't send fake enforcers to take what isn't yours. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe.